Macau, I fathom spitting. Like you ain't in my league to mention, pull out the savage writtens. This is my aphorisms, plus I got bad intentions. Call it the thirst for more and store Mojave vision. At times I'm on the ish that Gandhi kick it, so pour a cup of that life liquid that's ever so omnipresent. Other times I'm on this beat, gon' catch a body mission. Like Sun ain't listening, then we hit him like Sunny listening. But nah, let me calm my diction.
Hello and welcome to the Two Guys Podcast, episode 371. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Niles.
And I am your other co-host, Dwayne. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk basketball today because there's a lot of basketball things I want to talk about and bring up and chat about and delineate with you. I'm excited, buddy. But before we get too far into that, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. There's so much happening. We just talked for an hour before we started recording. And we were like, we were saying, like, it feels like we haven't talked in forever. It's been a week, but it feels like we haven't talked in forever because so much has happened.
Yeah.
We've had coaches fired. We've had GMs fired. We've had injuries. It's been crazy.
New coach rumors.
Lots of new coach rumors to talk about.
Trae Young's explosion last night was silly.
I do want to talk before we get started. I have something. I have something I need to share with the audience.
Okay.
So, the Eastern Conference Finals is happening.
Yes.
And it's crazy. It's nonsense that it's Hawks Bucks. It's at the beginning of the season, no one would have predicted this. No one.
No.
Bucks
maybe.
Bucks maybe. Yeah. Definitely not the Hawks. But at the beginning, so I was like, this is special, right? Like this is like something that may never see again, a team that started so bad as the Hawks get it together and make a run to the conference finals and win game one, by the way.
Yeah.
But so I did something. I reached out to our good friend Stephen A.
Excellent.
And he didn't answer his phone call. Stephen's he's a very busy man.
He's very busy.
He's busy. He didn't answer, but he did call me. This morning I woke up and I had a voicemail.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to share my voicemail that I got from Stephen A, if you don't mind.
I want to hear. I absolutely want to. I always like when Stephen A contributes to the podcast.
He did. He feels obligated. He realizes that we're big fans, and he did leave me a nice voicemail. He wanted to share some thoughts. So, Dwayne Thompson, Stephen A here.
I'm sorry. I'm already losing it. I'm
sorry I missed your call. I was very busy this morning. I'm on a flight. I'm on my way to Houston to watch Deshaun Watson practice. But I did want to call in to you guys because I love you guys, and I wanted to share some thoughts that I have about the Eastern Conference Finals. Specifically about the Hawks of Atlanta, Georgia. And the way that they have already made a name for themselves when no one gave them a chance. Not only did they make the playoffs, not only did they play their way into a 5 seed, not only did they beat my beloved New York Knickerbockers in 5 games, not only did they walk into the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, my old stomping grounds, by the way, and defeat the 76ers in a Game 7 in which they crushed the hopes of Joel Embiid and possibly ended the tenure of Ben Simmons in Philadelphia. Now they find themselves in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Milwaukee Bucks and former NBA MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo playing behind the stellar play of Mr. John Collins, the greatest troll in the history of the NBA. Behind the stellar play of Kevin Future, how did this guy get a max contract shooter? And of course, Mr. Rayford Trae Young, destroying the NBA, putting everyone on notice. I'm here to tell you right now, fellas, you are looking at the future of the NBA. The future greatest point guard of all time. Greater than Donovan Mitchell, who I said 2 weeks ago was the best Utah Jazz player of all time. Fellas, I'm running. My plane's landing here. I need to get back to my movie. I'm watching The Matrix 3 for the 3rd time. It's an incredible film. But I want you guys to enjoy the finals. I will come back whenever we are crowning Trae Young as finals MVP. And I will let you know how great Deshaun Watson looks in practice. I'm telling you, this young man's going to be a future gamer. There's nothing that could possibly happen off the field that could derail this young man's career. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Stephen A. out.
That was so nice of him.
I thought that was a nice voicemail he left me. I was excited to see it. I'm glad when Stephen A. chimes in.
Yeah, I just texted him thanks, and he wrote back, David Johnson's going to be the best running back in football this year. I'm watching him right now. So it was really nice of him. Really nice of him to contribute. Always appreciate Stephen A's time.
Stephen A. Look, if there's one guy that has his pulse on his hand on the pulse of the NFL, it's Stephen A.
Yeah, I love that he was going to check out Deshaun Watson. It's just nice of him. Nice of him.
Yeah, he needs to get out there and check out the young talent. See what's happening.
I heard Deshaun Watson's a close personal friend of his. So, so Stephen A. said a lot there. There's a lot to unpack.
Yes, so, and all of it's true. Oh my God, this Hawks team. I wasn't prepared for this Trae Young thing, because I've given my comeuppance a bit. I've been critical of Trae Young. I may or may not have said Trae Young. I'd rather have Colin Sexton than Trae Young. I might have said that. I might have said that Devontae Graham was better than Trae Young. I may have said that before. But look,
the thing is Trae Young, and we were talking about this, right? Trae Young, I didn't understand because I didn't watch him a lot outside of his rookie year. The Hawks just aren't on that often. So
yeah, that makes sense.
His rookie year, I saw him quite a bit, and he was a volume shooter his rookie year. Like, that's what he was. And I mean, he passed too. I'm not going to say he couldn't pass or anything. Like, he's always been a really good passer, but he looked like a volume shooter to me. And I think I just stuck that in my mind. And now I watch him, and I through these playoffs, and I didn't watch much of the 76ers series because I was taking a round of playoffs off after the Blazers lost.
Fair, very fair.
But I was very upset. But I watched a lot of that Knicks series, and the thing is he does the things that volume shooters don't do. Not just pass, but he elevates his teammates. Yeah. And he's always looking for the easier basket, the better basketball play. And while he still doesn't play defense, he's at least out there trying, which is good, and that's different than his rookie year. And he does those little sneaky things to get to the line. He's out there doing a lot. He even rebounds the ball pretty well. So
yeah, it's 7 rebounds in game 1 against the Bucks. It's crazy.
And as you know, I want to ask Hawks fans, and this is a question, you can tweet at me, Hawks fans. I'm curious what it's like to watch a team that's built around your star. Like a team that the GM looked at and said, we have an identity, we have a star player, we need players that complement that star player. Yeah. And it must be amazing. It must be amazing to watch that, because that team complements Trae Young so well. And it's to the point where, like, I watch them and everyone around him, there's like a cohesive thing happening, and it's not, nobody is trying to take alpha dog status away from Trae Young on there. It's just guys playing their role really, really well, and it's fantastic. It's fun to watch. That being said, I'm rooting for the Bucks because I like Giannis, but it's a great Eastern Conference Finals. I'm excited for both teams, and either team I'm going to be happy or sad for. Even though there's a Hawks thing with me because you're my friend, and I have a hard time rooting for Atlanta teams. But
the Hawks aren't like that with me. It's probably because the Hawks and the Hornets don't have a rivalry really, because the Hornets haven't been good in 25 years. But so it's probably that part of me. I can root for the Hawks. My wife has become a big Hawks fan. She really roots for Trae. She likes Trae. So it's fun to watch them do well. I would not be doing this well if it was the Falcons. I would not. I would be in a much worse place if it was the Falcons. But I do want to say a couple things about Trae.
Sure.
In this game, in game 1, there were 2 plays in the game 1s of the Eastern Conference Finals that stood out to me. The one play is the one that everyone is showing, where he comes up the court, he kind of gets a pick from John Collins and loses Drew Holiday. and then he stands at the 3-point line for, I don't know, about 45 minutes, does a little shimmy, and then drains a three. Like that play, I think is indicative of what the problem of game was that the Bucks are gonna have to fix. And it's also the second play. There was a play in the fourth quarter where Giannis gets Trae switched onto him on the block. Yeah. And Giannis dribbles a couple times and then shoots a fadeaway. Yeah. I'm like, you're a foot taller than Trae Young. Like, you should back him down and turn around and do a hook or pass it to someone else or something.
That being said, I do think that officiating is part of the reason for that. These guys like Giannis are used to getting an offensive foul called when a smaller guard is on them because the guards have gotten so good at doing that little head block that they get a charge. So I kind of think officiating is to blame for that. You know,
that's fair. That's fair. Also, it's the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, that doesn't mean they're not. I mean, they gave Trae multiple phantom calls last night. So don't.
They did the one play where the Giannis got the foul on the 3-pointer. I was like,
he didn't touch him.
He barely touched him. If he did,
yeah,
he barely. Maybe he grazed his arm a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't know. I after watching the playoffs so far, I realized the like light officiating in the playoffs is done. It's done. That's not a thing anymore.
The what officiating? The light officiating?
Light officiating, right? Like it used to be you'd get to the playoffs and those guys wouldn't get foul calls, right? Now they do.
Right.
They do.
They go the other way.
During the regular
season. I sympathize with the officials.
No.
I know this makes me a bad person. I'm the only person that will defend the cop.
You're fine.
Situation.
It has got to be the hardest job.
It's so hard.
Yeah. So I give them credit for that, but I will say, I think that's a factor. I think it's a factor why we don't see a post game anymore. People are like, oh no, everybody's flashy, just wants to shoot threes. I think part of it is the officiating. I really do. Because you take somebody on the block now, you move your shoulder a little bit like Charles Oakley used to do, or like Patrick Ewing used to do, you get foul. You get a charge call. And then you have to sit midway through the second quarter, and then your team doesn't have anyone who can block shots, and that's it. The role of the center now isn't to back things down. It's to do what Clint Capella is doing for the Hawks. It's to block shots, get rebounds on the other end. That's it.
Clint Capella, 12 points, 19 rebounds last night. Incredible.
That guy quietly was phenomenal all year. So all year, Clint Capella was
incredible. So here's the next part I wanted to talk about. This is that if you're Atlanta and you make this run, let's say you don't win the title, let's say you lose in this round, or if you do win and you lose in the finals to the Suns, what do you do with John Collins now?
You know, that front court with Collins and Capella, it's working. Like
it's working. You can't, because we assumed before the playoffs that like there's no way that they're gonna pay Collins and Capella, and now I'm like, I don't know how you can let Collins walk.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to pay him now.
It's going to be a very hard decision for them. Now, you know, luckily it's a qualifying offer, so they'll be able to let somebody else, set the market for him.
Yeah.
Which you know, I think is a good thing for the Hawks, because I don't know if anyone's going to pay John Collins the money that maybe John Collins wants.
Yes.
So
John Collins is getting John Collins is getting a max contract.
Yeah.
A restricted max contract, not the 5. He's not going to get the 5-year from Atlanta, I don't think. Yeah. But he's going to get that 4 years, what is it, 92 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Now, that being said, they are in a situation where they could still have some internal growth and improve this roster without doing anything on a roster that just made the Eastern Conference Finals, at least, and maybe even the Finals. So, adding $20 million a year for John Collins on there, like, that's really not terrible. They don't have anybody they have to pay this season except John Collins.
Yep.
So it might not be a bad thing for them. By the time that contract's going to be a problem, you'll be like year 2 of Trae Young's, max extension and things like that. Like it's not really extending John Collins right now isn't going to really keep you from doing anything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So maybe you do. Maybe you just extend him.
At this point, I think you do. I think that he has earned it. The way he's played through these playoffs and to end the season, since they switched coaches, everyone on that team has played just infinitely better. From Trae Young to Kevin Huerter, who Bogdanovich, who's hurt and did not play well in game 1, but he's very clearly hobbled.
Yeah, you can tell he's not moving normally.
He's really hurt. And they still don't have DeAndre Hunter.
Yep.
Who's another guy who's probably their best wing defender. They still don't have him. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to bet they're under next year. I'm so excited to bet the Hawks under because it's going to be way too high.
Well, and the thing is, let's say they decide they're one piece away, right? And let's say one of those big name guys becomes available on the trade market, whether it's Karl Anthony Towns or Ben Simmons or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. They have an $18 million a year contract in Bogdanovich. Yep. They have Onyeka Okongwu, right? A young, talented guy. Cam Reddish. Kevin Huerter, who is going to make way too much money in 2 years.
I cannot wait for that. That's going to be a fun contract.
Yeah. They've got picks. Like this is the thing. Like, the Hawks could extend John Collins and make a trade using those types of players to get a really big upgrade. Because if you're Philly, right, Philly's probably not going to look to blow it up, right? If Philly moves Ben Simmons, they're going to move him.
We're going to talk. We're going to save the
Philly. We're going to get
talk. We're going to talk to Philly in a minute.
But a team like Minnesota who really needs to blow things up, right? Like guys like Onyeka Okongwu would be very interesting to that team, Hawks are in good shape, man. They're in really good shape, and you might be right. Extending John Collins might be the right thing for them to do. I'll be interested to see if that actually happens. Huerter does crack me up. Huerter is going to get way too much money. Huerter is going to become, traded as the 2026 expiring deal worth $19 million. Like, that's
Stephen A. called him like the future. I can't believe that guy got a max contract, Huerter.
Yeah,
I can't wait for
Stephen A. Stephen A. knows what he's talking about when it comes to Kevin Huerter. So,
the thing of you mentioned Minnesota, and I would just like to say that NBA draft lottery happened this weekend and this Tuesday, and Minnesota.
So much to talk about, man.
Yeah, it's just so much stuff. We're not going to get to it all. Minnesota did not get their pick. They did not keep their pick. I don't believe.
Yeah.
So, it's what does Minnesota do? Because you mentioned like a trade to the Hawks, and it makes sense to me, but I don't think he makes sense there.
Oh no, I'm just talking about that as like an example of a marquee player who may become available on the trade market.
Okay, I thought you were specifically talking about Cat. I was like, I honestly would rather just keep Collins and Capella.
Yeah,
I think they do. I think they do more to complement what Trae does than Cat does, because Capella is he's the garbage man. He's just gonna clean up rebounds. He's gonna catch alley-oops.
I don't know if you don't pay Collins because you get Karl Anthony Towns and you start Towns and Capella. That's not a bad front. That's a very interesting front court.
Yeah, I guess I would rather have if my choice. Yeah. If my choice is, but I'm thinking that if you, who are you trading for Cat then in that situation? Okongwu?
Yeah, you're young guys like Okongwu, and then if you got to make salaries work, then Okongwu, Huerter, and let's say it's sign and trade with Collins, or let's say Okongwu, Huerter, and like Bogdanovich or something like that. Like, I think that's an upgrade.
My thought was being that you would have to you wouldn't trade Collins, but I guess you're saying you trade Collins in the deal.
Or you don't pay him. Whatever the case may be. I haven't put any thought into this.
Okay. I know. We're just talking. But I'm thinking about, like, in my mind, it's like, well, if you lose Collins, you have to trade Capella to get Cat. And I'd rather have Collins and Capella than Cat. I'd rather
I agree. I wouldn't have Capella in the deal.
Yeah, so I said all that to say Minnesota definitely should blow it up, and definitely aren't, especially now that they don't have a draft pick. They're definitely not. I think
you're right.
They're definitely not blowing it up now. If they had landed a top pick, then I could see them trying to move on, but I think that they're definitely just going to try and make the playoffs next year.
And they're not. They're not going to make the playoffs.
They're of course they're not. but they're gonna try.
Yeah, them in New Orleans, those two teams are on my list of I'm just not going to believe in them until they do it. Like it's just because every year we get told how good both those teams are. So, and I know we're entering
paper,
basically
on paper. Minnesota looks fine. They look like a good team on paper.
Yeah,
they
New
just
Orleans
stink every
too.
year.
Yeah, New Orleans too, but they're not good, and that's okay. So, so I wanted to say one more thing about the Bucks Hawks. I watched game one, and I will notice, and this is going to be an interesting theme to watch for the rest of the finals. The Hawks spent the whole game trying to speed it up, and the Bucks spent the whole game trying to slow it down. And both teams succeeded at certain parts of the games. And when the Hawks succeeded at speeding it up, the Bucks faltered, and the Hawks would always go on a run. When the Bucks succeeded in slowing it down, the Hawks would falter and the Bucks would get ahead. And that's going to be a really interesting push and pull throughout this series.
Yeah, it's Nate McMillan versus Bud. Like who can win that chess match? Both of those coaches have been good, and both have been scratch your head bad at times.
Yeah.
So it's unfair to say that it's gonna have to come down. It just comes down to who can make shots in half court. That's what playoffs always comes down to. It just always comes down to who can execute in the half court, and both teams are capable of doing it. I think that probably leans towards the Bucks, because they have Giannis who can slice
Drew.
you up.
Drew is excellent in half court sets. Like Holiday's really good.
Absolutely can. But this Hawks team, man, they have, I don't know what it is. It's just some teams
they got that little magic.
They just got that magic, man. It feels like one of those runs that like 10 years from now you're gonna like, you remember when the Hawks made the finals?
Yeah, right?
Everything broke right for them. The Nets got hurt. Philly was dysfunctional. Everything just broke right for them, and they took care of business with Milwaukee. I don't know, man. It's feeling a little weird.
Yeah. Let's talk Philly.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that Philly lost healthy, right?
Yeah.
Because that
healthy-ish.
All...
Embiid's not 100%, but healthy-ish.
Still, Embiid's never 100%, but everyone was
right
on the court. You know what I mean? So I'm happy that happened, because for years now we've been like, if just they could get healthy, right?
Right.
If Philly could get healthy, they're title contenders, right? And they, this year, number 1 seed going to the playoffs, and they looked severely flawed during this. So I'm glad that we got like more of a serious and holistic look at this team.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in what they're going to do, how they're going to approach the offseason. And then, of course, the big, elephant in the room is, does Ben Simmons need to be broken up from this team? Which I can kind of listen to arguments either way. So give me your take on what went wrong with Philly, and if there's something that you see that they should do to fix it.
Yeah. So here's the simple, uneducated version of what's wrong with them. The process is what's wrong. The whole point was to just gather assets, right? Regardless of fit, regardless of position duplication, we're just going to try and land superstars. And they landed 2. They landed Ben Simmons and they landed Joel Embiid. They weren't worried about fit. They weren't worried about anything. They were like, we just need to roll the dice as many times as possible until we just get stars. And that is a flawed way. We are now seeing the evidence that is a flawed way to build a team, because you can't just throw stars together and say, hey guys, go win a title. Like, no, they have to fit together. They have to play well together. And Ben Simmons has never fit beside Joel Embiid. Like, never. It's never made real sense. You need shooters around Joel Embiid to take spacing away from him, to create spacing for him so that he can do the things that make him effective. Ben Simmons creates no space. He creates no space.
You need shooters around Ben Simmons too.
Right. You need exactly. You need to treat him the same way that you treat Embiid. So it's never been a big fit, and you just saw it just on display in that Hawks series, where in the fourth quarter, in the second half of these games, they there was just nothing. Like it was Embiid. What was it? Game 5? It was literally Embiid and Seth Curry scored every basket for them in the second half of that game. Like you're paying Tobias Harris like $35 million a year, and he was nothing. He was nothing. Ben Simmons didn't attempt a shot in the fourth quarter of that game. Like that is the problem. The problem is the whole process of constructing the team was flawed from the very beginning. And I don't know what you do about it now. Like, I really genuinely don't. Like, we've seen that this does not work. We've seen ample evidence that this doesn't work. And I will just say that, like, the one time that they made a real run at this thing was when they had Jimmy Butler. When they had a shot creator, someone that could take the pressure in the fourth quarter and create their own shot. They don't really have that player now. Who is that player for them? Seth Curry?
It's Seth Curry.
They just don't have that player now.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I would just like to say, I said this to you yesterday, I'll say it again. The Ben Simmons slander has gotten a bit out of hand. Like,
you're right. It's gotten ridiculous.
It's like, look, there's a lot. Look, the guy is flawed as a player. Like, there's no questioning that. He can't shoot. He in that series at least, he looked like he wanted no parts of the big moment. He looked like he would have rather been anywhere else. But Ben Simmons is still a 3-time All-Star, right? He's still a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He's still a guy that can defend all 5 positions. You want Ben Simmons on your team if you can get Ben Simmons, right?
Yeah. He's great. He's great in the in transition. One of the best transition players.
Absolutely.
Like,
He's a 6'10" guy. He can handle the ball for like very few people his size can. He just can't shoot, and he's very passive offensively. Which is fine if you put the right team around him. If you put him in the right position, he could be very, very useful.
Let him play point forward on a team with a bunch of shooters.
Yeah.
Do that.
That makes more sense than putting him next to Embiid, who needs someone that can create space for him. So, yeah, I don't know what Philly does. I think they definitely are probably going to listen to offers. But I don't. Everyone seems to think that it's definite. And I at first thought that after that series, I was like, there's no way you can bring him back to Philly. Like, not after that. Like, you cannot bring him back. But the more I think about it, I'm like, maybe you can. Like, if they go get a point guard, if they get Lowry, or if they trade for Terry Rozier, I think that solves a lot of their problems. Not all of them, obviously. But I think it solves a lot of their problems. Someone that can create and facilitate the offense and just let Ben do the things that he does well, right? So I don't know what a trade for a Rozier or a Lowry looks like. You're probably giving, they're not trading Tybal. They're not trading, are they trading Maxey? What are they
probably
trading?
Not Maxey. Yeah. The secret thing that I'm interested in is a Tobias Harris trade.
Yeah,
is that something
that could be
happens?
Something.
And how much value does he have? Because he's making 35, 37, and 39 million the next 3 years.
That's absurd.
So,
that's absurd.
It's a lot of money for Tobias Harris. So and he had a good season. But
very good season.
But definitely doesn't look like the second best player on a championship team. Like, doesn't look that.
It's like it's your CJ thing, right? Where it's like he's a fine player at that price. You're expecting more than what you're getting for that player, right? It's like if he was making 20, then I love Tobias Harris. But at 39, like if I'm paying you $39 million a year, I want a 1A guy or 1B. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And he also does more. At least he has more than one thing he does well. You know what I mean? So
okay, let's get this CJ jab in there. Let's go ahead.
I love CJ. Dwayne.
You sound like it.
I'm terrible. I'm getting so bad. I need to, like, every episode say nice things about CJ.
Yeah, he's very good. He's very well spoken, very smart guy.
Yeah. So seems like a great dude.
Seems like a great guy. Yeah.
Genuine. World class trash talker. Right.
Yeah.
lifelong Blazer, phenomenal player. One of the best in the league at going and getting a bucket, right?
Yeah.
Creating his own shot creator, phenomenal. One of the best in the league. I would say probably only a small handful of people as good or better than him. I'm talking like Kyrie Irving. Like, that's the level he is. He's an elite shot creator, right? Has had some huge playoff moments.
Yeah.
For Portland.
Of course.
There we go. I appreciate CJ McCollum.
Just need to put that out there. The CJ.
Yeah.
This is every week I want you to prepare one nice thing to say about CJ McCollum.
I need to, so people don't think I hate him, because I don't hate CJ McCollum. I root for him. I've considered purchasing a jersey. Like, I like CJ McCollum very much.
You may want to hurry up and get that jersey.
No. Neil Olshey is never trading CJ. It's just not happening. Like, Philly would call up and be like, we want CJ and Neil would be like, hold off.
Are you giving us Embiid?
Yeah. Can I interest you in some Derrick Jones Jr.? So, everyone, Portland's talking about like a CJ for Simmons thing, and I hope Daryl Morey is buying all this and reading all this like crapping on Ben Simmons and thinks that Ben Simmons' value is bad, because I think Ben Simmons would get them a haul, personally.
Define haul.
I think that they could. I mean, without canvassing the league and figuring out like what team players are available and all that,
Yeah.
I think that a CJ McCollum centered trade. I think Portland would have to add Anthony Simons, Nasir Little, and a pick or something like that. Like, I think they would need to add a lot of the pieces that maybe Portland doesn't want to give up in order to entice Philly to do that, because CJ 30, 33, and 35 million the next 3 years, and I think I can't remember how old CJ is. I think he's like 29 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I think he'll be 30.
Yeah, so you're giving up a young asset, because Ben Simmons is what, like 26 or something like that.
24,
so,
I believe.
24, yeah. So looks like he'll be 25 next month. So Ben Simmons 25 for a 30-year-old CJ. Not a better contract. Just now, CJ is a better fit for that team and would do a lot for that team. And I might even say that if CJ had been on that team instead of Ben Simmons, the way it's constructed, might have beat the Hawks. Honestly, because CJ would have had a couple of those games where he'd have been out there, he'd have had the green light, and he'd have put up 25 points a game. Like, he would have done that for them. So he also would have shot better than 35% from the free throw line.
That's the
ridiculous.
thing. That's absurd.
That's the most damning thing about Ben Simmons to me. Like, that's the thing that I'd be like, ooh, you got to fix that.
You don't even have to shoot. You don't have to shoot 80%. You just give me 65.
Yeah, 65, 70%. Yeah.
Just give me 65, Ben. That's all about. He shoots 65%. If he shoots 65 from the free throw line, they win that series. That's it.
Yeah. It's a woo. But yeah, so I think Daryl Morey, I think he's gonna get better offers than that. Because the thing is, people are like, oh, they need to get a star back, and I'm like, they kind of don't. They need to get shooting.
Yes,
back.
That's the thing.
What they need to do.
This is the thing, and here's I'm gonna slightly disagree with you. I don't necessarily think they need a star back, but they need a playmaking guard. And at the level of Ben Simmons, for me, there's only two trades that make sense. And that's the trade with CJ McCollum. I think you could make something work there. And Bradley Beal.
Yeah. Can I interest you in some sort of D'Angelo Russell centered trade? No? Okay, just checking. No. Just checking. Just checking. Shot creation, just
no
checking.
interest. No interest at all.
What about a De'Aaron Fox? What about that little De'Aaron Fox deal?
Now that's interesting.
Yeah, there could be a little De'Aaron Fox out there. You get Fox, and is Fox and Bagley maybe? Fox and Bagley might work.
I want Hield.
You want Hield. So let's see. So if you do Fox and Hield, that's $50 million. So you need to take something back.
Does Buddy Hield make that much? How much does Buddy Hield make?
22, 21, 19, which is a good
contract.
Actually.
That's not bad, actually.
It's de-escalating. But De'Aaron Fox, just his big extension kicks in next year, so he makes $28 million starting next year. and Buddy is 22. So that's about $50 million.
Not enough time. There's not enough time. But what are the Kings doing? Like, is there any team in the league that needs a "what are you doing"?
Now that Orlando has kind of blown up what they were doing, I think it's definitely the Kings. Definitely have the "what are you doing"?
What are you doing? It's them in Minnesota now. Because Minnesota, what are you doing, Minnesota?
Yeah, I remember. What did they do? What was it? They drafted De'Aaron Fox and then gave all his minutes to Vince Carter one year or something like that.
It was George. Was it George Hill? Who was it they brought in?
George Hill. Yeah, it was George Hill.
It was George Hill because they drafted him. He played well, and then they brought in George Hill. And I remember you coming on this show and going, "Why?"
Yeah, the Kings, because the Kings, they were bad. It's not like they were good. Like they were bad. They just moved on from Boogie Cousins, and they drafted this young, exciting point guard. Give Fox all the minutes. Like give him the ball, give him the green light, make him the focal point. They brought in George Hill and cut Fox's minutes. They were they did the same thing with Bagley his rookie year when Bagley was healthy. I mean, now he has a hard time staying on the court, but like when Bagley was healthy his rookie year, and they gave all his minutes to Bjelica. Like
I remember that. Yeah.
So what
doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense.
You've got 2 high lottery picks on your roster. Like, give them all the minutes. Let them grow.
Yeah. So the long and short of it is, I don't think there's a lot of guys that make sense for the timeline Philly is on. Philly has a window with Joel Embiid.
It's true.
To try and win a title, and they've got 2-3 seasons at the most here before I think you start to see some physical decline in Embiid. Maybe sooner than that. He does have this meniscus issue that doesn't seem to be resolved. I don't know if it's torn, if it's strained, what. They just kind of... They said he had a slight tear in his meniscus, and then everyone thought the sky was falling, and then he went out and played fine in this series. Yeah. So I don't...
He does seem to have a thing, and he's 27. He's a 7-footer that's 27.
Yeah.
I mean...
I would say he's had a much longer and healthier career than I ever thought he would after his first 2 seasons.
Agreed, yeah.
And I will say this. Do you know why I think he's had such a healthy stretch in his career? Because they sat him for 2 years. Like they
does help.
Like I think that is, a bad part of the process, but also a good necessary part of the process that Hinkie was willing to wait the time it took for him to get really healthy. Like he was willing to say, like, because a lot of teams wouldn't have the patience to let their number 3 pick sit for 2 years. They were like, we need to get this guy on the court now. And Hinkie
especially
was like,
with the media, right? Because the media the whole time was like, "Where's Joel Embiid? How's Joel Embiid?"
And Hinkie
was
like,
hiding about Joel Embiid?
Hinkie was like, "I don't want to win anyway." It was like, so just sit him. I don't care.
Yeah. But you wonder about some of those guys who had injury issues if they'd have had the opportunity to sit for 2 years, stay within a system, and not be abandoned.
Yeah,
and I'm talking to Andrew Bynum, guys like that.
Absolutely,
who, injuries just derailed their careers. I wonder.
Yeah, if Philly had just had the patience to sit him for 2 years.
Yeah. I wonder. I really wonder.
Yeah. All that said, I do think I don't know if they trade Ben Simmons. I think they try, but I ultimately
they at least listen.
They at least are gonna listen, but I don't know that they're gonna trade Ben Simmons, and I don't know that they should. I think the team is fixable because if you trade Ben Simmons, say you trade him for CJ. I said this to you yesterday, like CJ does a lot of the things that Ben Simmons does badly, and none of the things that Ben Simmons does well.
Exactly. Now, the one thing I will say about that, though. Now, I'm not saying Philly should do that because I don't think they should. I don't think you give up a young, better asset for an older, lesser asset, even if it's a better team fit. I just don't think that's a good thing to do. I will say the things that Ben Simmons does really well, they have several guys on the team who do pretty well. Right?
Yeah, exactly. You can hedge some of it a little bit. You can't make up the defense though. The fact that he can switch on 5 positions, like CJ's not doing that.
No, CJ's not. But the thing is, Matisse Thybulle kind of does, right? So you've got guys on your roster that do that well, right? That's the thing. What you don't have is anyone who does any of the things CJ does, except Seth Curry, right?
Yes.
So that's the argument there for for that is you don't really need to replace what Ben Simmons does because Ben Simmons' talents are already there on your roster, even if they're not there in quite that great of amount, right? That's the argument, right? And then Portland, it would be the same thing. The reason it's not a problem is that Portland has multiple shooters. Portland has guys that can go get a shot. Maybe not as well as CJ does, but they've got multiple guys that can do that. What they don't have is a guy that can guard all 5 positions and pass the ball. Like, those are things they don't, and run the offense, right? Dame is the only guy on that team that can run the offense. Robert Covington is the only guy on that team that can defend the perimeter. So that's the thing. That's why the fit works. But again, Ben Simmons has more trade value than CJ McCollum. And so you don't trade, like, he's a 3-time All-Star defensive player. You know, CJ's never made an All-Star game.
Yeah.
So never really even been in the conversation.
Yeah.
So
he's always been, like, in that group below the guys that get in for injury replacements.
Yeah, right? That's always been CJ. So now this year he might have been considered if he'd been healthy because he kind of went off to a blazing start. But that's kind of the closest. And even then he probably wouldn't have gotten in. So yeah, we talked a lot about Philly.
Yes, let's pop. I want to pop over to the Western Conference because this is an interesting series to me. Suns and the Clippers. I'm hardcore rooting for the Suns in this one. I wouldn't hate it if the Clippers won, but I all in on this Suns team making it to the finals.
Yeah, they're fun to watch, and you know Chris Paul's not even playing right now. They're a lot of fun to watch.
So it looks like Chris Paul's going to come back for Game 3. Clippers lost the first 2 games. Game 2 was one of the craziest fun. Did you watch Game 2?
I did, yeah. The end of that was
the end of that game. First of all, the fourth quarter of that game took 45 minutes. It was absurd.
It did. It took way too long.
Way too long. Figure out a way. NBA, hey, fix this review thing in the last 2 minutes. We can't review every play. We can't run a play, review it. Run a play, review it. I understand the refs are terrified of getting killed for making a bad call, but there's got to be a better way to do this.
Yeah, agreed.
This last play, they're up. The last 20 seconds exchange was incredible. Like, Suns are up 1. I think, Paul George comes down, hits a crazy shot. They're up 1, and then Booker comes down, he hits a crazy shot. And they're up 1, and then he comes back and hits another shot, and they're up 1. And then he's on the line for 2 free throws that would put him up 3, and he clanks them both.
Yeah,
and ends up with the Suns do. One of those inbound play, 0.8 seconds left. There's one play. There's only one play you can run, and that is some sort of action towards the basket and an alley pass. And it seems to be the only play that the Clippers weren't expecting.
Yeah.
Because Cousins is guarding the inbound play, but he's guarding a pass to the 3-point line. Why? Yeah. Why, Boogie? Why is that what you're doing? That whole sequence, and then they throw an alley-oop to Ayton. I know, a lot of ink has been spilled about that 2018 draft class, but man,
it's very interesting. Ayton every bit the number 1 pick.
He fits.
Like, he looks incredible
perfectly on that Suns team. This isn't to say they wouldn't be good if they had Luka, because they would be. But man, Ayton fits that team perfectly. Does he not?
He does, man. It's real. And again, if you have the first pick in that draft, you take Luka.
Of course. If you redo that draft, Luka's going number 1. No question.
Yeah, you take Luka, even though he did just get his coach fired.
Yeah.
But,
and the 2 guys taken after him, well, 2 of the 3 guys taken after him are in the conference finals. So
are in the conference finals. Yeah. So that is a thing. The poor Kings. That's the Bagley.
The poor Kings. Yeah, that's Bagley. That's Bagley.
Oof. Oh,
yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
Yeah.
I will say this. Let's just say this. So, going into that draft, I was like, it doesn't make any sense Luka's not going first, right? Like,
yeah, we both thought that. Yep.
Luka is clearly the best player in this draft. I don't know why he's not going first. The number 1 pick in that draft was the Suns, who were being coached by his Lithuanian national team coach, and he passed on Luka. The number 2 pick in that draft was held by the Sacramento Kings, who was being run by Vlade Divac, who knew Luka's family and knew him and his family and his father, and he passed on Luka. Like, in hindsight, maybe they knew something.
Maybe they just didn't like him. Maybe they just thought he was kind of a jerk.
Maybe they were like, look, I do not want to deal with this kid. Because what we're seeing now is that he's kind of a diva. And he's kind of, it seems hard to coach. And it seems like he got his general manager and his coach fired.
Yeah. That Suns draft, man. DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges. Like,
Oof. Also, Mikal Bridges was drafted in that draft by the Sixers and then traded.
Yeah. Yep. Traded.
They could use it. They could use Mikal Bridges.
They could use Mikal Bridges. That draft, man. Looking at that
That's a good draft,
an incredible
man.
draft. That's an incredible draft.
It's a really good draft.
Like, Colin Sexton looks like a player. Mikal Bridges. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went 11th. Miles Bridges went 12th. Like,
Yep. It's a good draft, man.
Maga Porter Jr. went 14. That's incredible.
It's a really solid draft. I say all this to say, the Suns team just seems to fit. They seem to work really well together. I really, really, really hope they take care of business and get to the finals. Because I think it'd be really awesome to see all the crap we've given Booker. I think we've given Booker crap. I think I've said before on the show also. I'm pretty sure I said that Booker. I think I gave you a who would you rather once where it was like, who will lead their team to a finals first, Booker or Karl Anthony Towns? I think I've said that. And I think you said Booker.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been like real down on Booker.
I've always thought
I was not a believer in the Suns this year. I thought the Suns were a pretender. I was low on the Suns and the Hawks going into the season. So,
well, that's how much we know, right?
I did say when Philly was the number 1 seed, I did say Philly feels like a disappointing second round exit. I did,
and you said that exact same thing about Utah. You've been saying that about Utah all season.
Yeah.
So good on Phoenix and good on Ayton. I'm really rooting for DeAndre Ayton.
Me too. Seems like a good dude and just fun to watch. Like he does everything well. It's just fun to watch him. I mean, obviously he doesn't shoot outside the elbows, but he knows his role and he plays it really well. So
I want to transition slightly into the next topic. There is another kid that's gonna be in this draft that I think is DeAndre Ayton 2.0, and that's Evan Mobley, the center from USC.
The USC kid, yeah.
I am in love with Evan Mobley. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham is good. We had the draft lottery. The Detroit Pistons got the number 1 pick. They're taking Cade Cunningham. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. Just go ahead and call it in right now. They're taking Cade Cunningham. I don't care that they have Killian Hayes. I don't care. If you have to, trade him. I don't care. You're drafting Cade Cunningham.
Also, isn't Cade Cunningham a point guard in name only? Like, isn't
he really? Yeah, he's very much he plays the point guard, but you could easily slide him to the 2. You could probably even play him at the 3 if you needed to.
Yeah, I see him as a 2-3. Like, I think
you could play him in the 2 or the 3. But if he's on that team, he's your primary ball handler. You're gonna want him,
of course,
handling the ball, even if he's playing the off guard.
Yeah.
I saw some people online like, what do you do with Killian Hayes? I was like, you send him to Alaska if you have to. Like, whatever it is you have to do. Killian Hayes was fine this year, but he was not good, right? So it's like he was certainly not. Don't draft Cade Cunningham good.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say he was good. I would say he was bad.
He was
and
fine.
Then got a little better.
He was fine. I would say fine. I would give him a thorough fine. No, actually, I would go worse than fine because
bad.
I would say
he was bad.
I would say Cole Anthony was fine.
Yeah, I think Killian Hayes was bad. Like if I'm, I think he was bad. Looked a little better as the season went on, so it gives you a little hope he'll get better. But if this is Killian Hayes and he doesn't get like 3 times better, that's a massive disappointment for Detroit.
I agree.
7th pick of the draft. Yeah.
I agree. So yeah, they're taking Cade Cunningham. 2 is where this gets interesting to me because 2 was won by the Houston Rockets. And I think the second best player in this draft, hands down, is Evan Mobley. And they just paid Christian Wood. So what do you do if you're Houston? Do you take BPA and just take Mobley and see what happens? Or do you maybe trade back a few spots and you can get Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs, like any of these other Davion Mitchell, any of these other guys that look to be really, really good too. I don't know what you do if you're Houston. I think they have some room to play there.
Or do you trade Christian Wood?
I wouldn't trade Christian Wood.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. I hadn't considered that. Christian Wood for PJ Washington? Let's go. I'm in. I'll do that.
I love we went to Charlotte. I love it.
Oh, where else are we going? Come on.
Where else we going? It does fit. It does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, so
I don't know if Houston's interested in that or not, but it makes sense for
probably
Charlotte.
not. Houston probably is not trading Christian Wood. I think they probably just draft Mobley and just figure it out.
Yeah, probably right.
But I said that I bring up the Houston thing because I think there's like a lot of trade potential. Like Cleveland at 3. What is Cleveland doing at 3? Because
I think if Mobley's there, that's a really good fit because Jared Allen can kind of play the 4.
Allen can play the 4, and there's rumors that they're shopping him. So like they could.
Oh, okay.
If Mobley's on the board, that's the pick. That's no question. But say like Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs, like is Sexland. I guess you just have to decide whether or not you believe in Sexland.
Yeah,
I believe in Sexton.
I do. I think he's a good player.
Notice
Darius Garland.
Darius Garland, on the other hand. I don't know if I have a chance to draft Jalen Suggs and give him those Darius Garland minutes. Do I do that? I might.
Yeah. And Garland actually played pretty good this season, but
he was good. He was good. He was better than he was his rookie. His rookie year was not good.
Yeah. Rookie year was not good. So, yeah, interesting.
I don't want to go.
Cleveland's in an interesting spot.
The reason I bring up the trade because like there's a team. The Orlando Magic has I think 5 and 8. If Orlando traded 5 and 8 to Cleveland to move up to 3 and go get Jalen Suggs, Cleveland can move back 3 spots, get a wing, and get a big guy. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that would make sense, and I guess that would kind of make sense for Orlando too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they could go up and get a guy. They could go get Jalen Green. They could go get Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs. There's too many Jalens. I can't do this.
Too many Jalens.
Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs. Put him next to Cole Anthony.
Yep.
Put him out there next. They still got Markelle Fultz running around.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense to me. I thought that lottery worked out really, really well for the teams in the top. Now, we're going to do our draft thing later where we're going to dig all the way into the draft. But I think there's some really good guys at the top of the draft that I really like. I love Evan Mobley. I'm very curious to where he lands. I don't want him to go to Houston. Because
I'm excited to be all in on Evan Mobley. I know his by name, but I haven't watched him at all. Now I'm going to be excited. I usually fall in love with the center.
He reminds me a lot of DeAndre Ayton. He's defensive rim protector. He runs the floor well. He's not a great offensive guy, I would say, but that's fine. Like what you want your 5 to do is to clean up and to be able to handle the ball and protect possessions, protect the rim, find shooters, and he could do all of those things. Run the rim well. If Cade Cunningham wasn't in this draft, he'd easily be the number 1 pick, in my opinion.
Yeah. So we're almost out of time. I want to talk about one more thing before we go.
Let's do it.
So Brad Stevens made his first trade as the GM for the Boston Celtics, or president of basketball operations. Traded Kemba Walker, the 16th pick in this year's draft, and a future second to Oklahoma City Thunder for Al Horford, lifelong Blazer Moses Brown, and a future second. So basically, Boston gives up a first-round pick to get rid of Kemba Walker. That's basically what happened. And
who was the lifelong Blazer? Moses Brown was a Blazer?
Moses Brown, yeah. King of the two-way contract for the Blazers. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, I don't remember him being a Blazer. Okay.
Yeah. 2019, 2020, played 9 games, averaged 3.7 minutes per game.
Yeah.
Lifelong Blazer.
Let's do it. Lifelong Blazer. Yeah. Moses Brown, I'm in.
Heck yeah. So I want to ask you 3 questions, okay? First off, How much did Brad Stevens not like Kemba Walker to move him immediately before they even got the placard on the wall of his office?
Dog, God, it was immediate. Like he hadn't changed his voicemail yet. His voicemail still says head coach.
Right? Like Brad Stevens hated Kemba Walker. That had to be the case, right?
Bruh, they haven't even switched his office yet. Nothing. Seriously, the lottery hadn't even happened. The lottery hadn't happened yet.
In the interview, they're like, well, we're considering you, Brad, for this job. And he's like, hold on, I got OKC on the phone. That's what happened. He's like, I'm gonna get this job, right? Can I trade Kemba now? Can I trade him now? Or do I have to wait?
God. I honestly thought that was going to be Marcus Smart. I thought he was going to trade Marcus because there's always been the rumors that Marcus Smart and Brad Stevens didn't like each other. So I thought immediately he's going to trade Marcus Smart. Nope, it was Kemba.
I'll take some Marcus Smart. Let me have Marcus Smart. So there's that, right? So number 2 question, did they have to give up a pick to move Kemba Walker? Would anyone have given up any kind of asset for him? I mean, I'm not saying, obviously they're not getting like a big trade package, but did it have to be a I'm paying you to get rid of him kind of trade?
Yeah,
because I didn't feel like it was there.
Yeah, it seems sad, right? Like it doesn't seem, Kemba wasn't that bad. Like he's not been healthy. And he's been fine when he played, but giving up the first to move him does seem like a bit much. And OKC obviously did that trade for the pick, right? Like maybe they have plans to play Kemba, but I don't believe so. They're probably going to look to move him or buy him out, I would imagine. And then Kemba Walker on the buyout market is going to be something.
Yeah, that's my third question is, does he play for Oklahoma City?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, like they did this with CP3. They bought in CP3 for a season to kind of tutor the guys, but I don't think like SGA doesn't need a tutor at this point. Take the training wheels off SGA. He's good to go, right? Like, yeah. So I don't know.
Now Kemba can play off ball and so can Shea. So I kind of think they can play together a little bit. But I wonder.
They definitely can. My guess would be that they look to move him somewhere else.
Okay.
I
would think so. Or even they might just buy him out. Like you said, on the buyout market, Kemba is really interesting.
Yeah.
So every team should call.
On the buyout market, he's definitely going to be a Laker.
Yeah. Oh.
Because it's not going to cost a ton, and he makes sense. He makes sense in LA.
That makes me so sad. I don't want him in LA.
Or Philly. He makes sense in Philly, too.
Oh, he makes so much sense in Philly. Philly should definitely call. So final question there. With the Kemba thing, I wanted to ask you. This isn't really a question. It's more of an observation. The national media's approach to this, right, is Boston made a shrewd move. Good job, Boston. They brought Al Horford home, right? And I just wanted to say this is a phenomenal example of how much the media loves big markets, because this trade, if this trade is done by the Bucks, right, then the national media this just goes to show what a terrible mistake the Bucks made signing Kemba Walker.
This
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not afraid to say it. I'll say it. That was a horrible move by the Celtics.
Yeah.
A horrible move. In hindsight, at the time, sure, it made a ton of sense. But in hindsight, they could have had Terry Rozier, who's been much better than Kemba the last 2 seasons, infinitely better than Kemba, for less money.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, any other team, the media would be chastising. Oh, look, there's punctuation on a horrible decision, and here it's like, what a shrewd move by Brad Stevens. Like,
It's
all right, guys.
It's Brad Stevens. It's Boston. It's the Celtics. It's Larry Bird. It's Kevin
2
McHale.
years into a max deal, they traded him and gave up a pick to get rid of him. And
a disaster.
Call a spade, guys.
A disaster.
That's a disaster. It's a disaster.
A disastrous move for them. It's an absolute disastrous move. But hey, it's Boston.
It's Boston.
They got Jaylen Brown. Huh?
They got Jaylen Brown. They got Jason Tatum. Those two are enough for them.
Danny Ainge is like, hey, huh? I got you Brown. Yeah. I got you Tatum. Huh? I won the title 13 years ago. Huh?
That's right.
Isn't that fun?
Okay, that's all I've got today. We've gone long. Any final thoughts before we go, buddy?
One more thing. Boston is not going to trade Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They have no other assets to trade for anyone, so please stop mentioning them in trade rumors. Thank you.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Boston does not have assets to trade to acquire anyone. So, just, yeah. So before we go, let me just mention it really helps us out if you go to Apple Podcasts, subscribe, leave us a nice review. So please like, share, and subscribe to help get us enough traffic to continue growing the show. That about does it for this week. Also, the Lakers and Clippers don't have anyone to trade either, so stop it there too. You can find us on Facebook, download us on the Apple Podcast, Stitcher, check us out at twoguyspodcast.com. You should also follow us on Twitter at TwoGuysDwayne and at TwoGuysBrandon. Thanks for listening. Catch you next week.
It's that infinite, filling the gap synonyms. Extract minerals, twisted and dash cinnamon. Flavorful, neighbors sniffing from the kitchen. We cooking up that supreme rap and then we dish it. Yo,
close, your attention's under fire. Cause on the mic, I call experience. I'm like a giant. Or dominate, I'm like a giant. It's a sabotage. Nobody move. Yeah. Don't even sleep. Ready to ill, ready to get it, ready to kill, ready to ill, ready to kill. Yeah. I'm like a giant. Or dominate.